Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with an episode of the Shoot Around. I got my man Andy, International Andy, with us. And we're going to break some things down, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, Andy, how you doing?
What up, Sim? Happy to be on with you. I'm also happy that the Knicks are going to start to play meaningful games.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's not meaningless, it's meaningful. So let's hope we're going to start off on a good note. And this season is going to be a really good one.
Yeah, a good one. You know, before we even get to the preseason, and, you know, I want to get your thoughts on the preseason and just an outlook on the regular season. I know on tomorrow, actually, we're going to do some predictions for the season as we do a little kickoff at Legends. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are available, join us at Legends tomorrow night, 7 p.m. All right, there's a link in the description of the video. I'm going to put it in the YouTube chat. It's a free event. The food ain't free. You got to pay for the food at Legends, but it's a free event for you to just come and chill with us. If you don't want to buy food, don't buy food, but you can come chill with us, all right, and have a good time. We'll do some podcasting and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be pretty dope. You know, we'll have, I think Eru's going to be there. You know, Die Hard's going to be there. Gmo's going to be there. Steph is going to be there. I'm going to be there. Some other people will be there. So make sure you come join us, ladies and gentlemen. The only reason why you have to register is so we can keep track of how many people are showing up. So we can let them know, you know, how much staff to have and things like that. So come join us tomorrow night at Legends at 7 p.m. All right? But before we get into really breaking down this Knicks preseason, the Knicks announced that they waived a few people, right? They waived Jalen Martin. They waived Isaiah Roby. They also waived Nathan Knight, who was on a two-way contract. All right? Jalen Martin was on a two-way contract. So they now have two two-way contracts available. Now, they just picked up two players, Brandon Goodwin and Mamadi Diakite. I think I said it correctly. Mamadi Diakite. All right, two guys, both from the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, you know, keep that little nugget right here, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to talk about that in a little bit. But I want to get from Andy, what's your thoughts on the Knicks signing Brandon Goodwin and Mamadi Diakite to Exhibit 10 contracts?
Well, Sim, this is what the Knicks brass, and not only the Knicks brass and the management, are doing before the season starts. The final cuts are supposed to be made, if I'm correct, on Monday.
Right.
So they still have the weekend to acquire these guys, sign them to contracts, and then waive them. So the Knicks, the Westchester Knicks, can have their rights before the G League draft happens.
Yeah.
And I think that we should be used to it. You know, to the Knicks brass doing this, because it's like the fourth season probably that this is happening, and we are signing guys, cutting them literally over midnight, right? So the day counts and they're gone. Is it surprising? Well, I was thinking that maybe Nathan Knight or Isaiah Roby are going to be those guys that might be the backups for Julius Randle, at least spot minutes, in case of an injury or something happened to Jericho Sims or someone else on the roster. But what we got to take in account is that the other 29 teams have to, you know, cut guys and waive them. So maybe the Knicks have some inside news on guys that are going to get waived or cut, and they can jump on them to be the backup on our roster in case something bad happens.
Right. And I want to make sure Mamadi's name is Diakite, not Diakite, Diakite. All right, so I want to make sure I'm saying that correctly. And Diakite is 6'9", 229 pounds. Last year for the Cavs, he averaged 2.6 points per game, 1.4 rebounds, and just over 8 minutes per game. He had 2 starts last season as well. All right. Goodwin is 28 years old, 6 foot, 180 pounds. He averaged, during the 21-22 season, he averaged 4.8 points per game, 2.5 assists, 1.9 rebounds in just about 14 minutes per game. I remember Brandon Goodwin playing against the Knicks. He's a decent basketball player. I don't know if I remember seeing Diakite play. I don't know.
I don't recognize him as well.
But I've watched some highlights. All right. He's athletic. He can shoot the three, can shoot the mid-range. Yeah, I don't know if I see him sticking with the Knicks in their G League squad or anything like that. I'm pretty positive. I don't want to say I'm positive. A couple other guys are going to probably get waived, right? The Knicks waived 3. They picked up 2. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they don't need to waive guys. They had 20. They waived 3. That takes it down to 17 players. Well, they waived 2. They brought in 2. So somebody else probably has to go.
Or it's going to be these guys just after midnight, Sim.
Or it could be these guys just after midnight. Who knows? Right? But someone else is going to have to go so that they stay at that 18-man roster, 3 players on a two-way, and then your 15-man regular roster. So we'll see what happens between now and Monday. I have a little bit of a theory, Andy. Tell me if I'm crazy. I think the Knicks are still really trying to get Donovan Mitchell. I do. And I think the fact that they brought in Cleveland Cavalier players. You got Dylan Windler. You see, he didn't get waived yet. He could, but he played with the Cavs last year. Did he play with the Cavs last year? I think he was on their team last year, right? Diakite played with him last year. I actually have a picture of him and Donovan Mitchell clapping hands. I don't know if Brandon Goodwin played with the Cavs last season. I know he was with them in 21-22. But my theory is that the Knicks, I have two ideas, 2 thoughts. The Knicks are bringing in Cleveland Cavalier guys so they can get some intel about the Cavs, and things that they do schematically. And maybe these guys are friends of Donovan Mitchell. And so, look at Archie. I'm going to just call him Archie because I always butcher his last name. Look at Archie. He's still on the squad.
Sim, I could add one thing even to that theory of yours.
Okay.
That Knicks are picking off Cavs players so they can make room if we want to send more players to the Cavs for Donovan Mitchell as a single player coming back to the Knicks.
Yeah, maybe. We had Brandon Goodwin. We like him. We had Diakite. We like him. Keith Turner said, I don't know about all that. I don't know. I disagree. You know what I mean? These are guys that I don't know if Brandon Goodwin's played with Donovan Mitchell, but Diakite's played with him. Dylan Windler's played with him. And maybe they have some inside information to know that Donovan Mitchell is friends with these guys. And he likes these guys. You know what I mean? And so, hey, let's pick these guys up. We'll get them. The Knicks did it with Archie before they signed Jalen Brunson.
Years before we got to Brunson.
Right. The year before Brunson came to the Knicks, he was on the squad, off the squad, on the squad, off the squad. And everyone was wondering, what's up with this guy? No one connected the dots, but what's up with this dude? Why we keep signing Archie? He hasn't played a lick. Then we come to find out that he's really good friends with Jalen Brunson. I'm just going to say, don't be surprised if you find out one of these guys are really close with Donovan Mitchell. I'll say that. I'll just say that. Don't be surprised if you find out one of these guys are close. If one of these guys they're on the squad, and you wonder, why do we keep keeping this guy around? It could be Brandon Goodwin Mamadi Diakite. The Knicks signed both of those guys yesterday, and Nathan Knight was waived yesterday. Then a couple of days before that, Jalen Martin and the other guy was waived, Isaiah Roby. All right. And, the Knicks still have some work to do to clean up the roster, to have it ready. I think October 23rd is the date where they need to have the final roster ready. So they still got a little bit of work to do to get that done. You know what I mean? A little bit of work to do. All right. Let me know your thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about that. Are the Knicks, are the Knicks serious about these guys, or are they just angling to get some intel on the Cavs and for Donovan Mitchell? I think when we talk about Leon Rose and those guys, they move with a purpose a lot of the times. They move with a purpose. You know what I mean? I don't think everything is just, hey, we're just going to sign these guys. I think they move with a purpose. And now that they sign these guys to Exhibit 10 contracts, they can come into the G League program. And the Knicks have their rights in the G League program. You know what I mean? So I guess we will see going forward. We'll see going forward. Andy, before we really get into breaking down the preseason, we're going to listen to Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo and get their thoughts on the preseason. All right. And then we'll come back and we'll break it down. All right. So let's listen to Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
It's obviously a process, starting from, day one of training camp, just getting your rhythm and timing and legs under you and stuff like that. But now it's time to go. The real thing is here. Obviously, we don't like how we finished this preseason. And we're going to have to take strides and steps forward in these next coming days. But we will. We've been in positions where we had to get it going before. And we don't want to rely on that, but we understand that we got to, have more of a sense of urgency. So we'll take those steps. Preseason is where you want to make these mistakes, and it's trial and error. And good thing is we have chemistry to build off of last year. But like I said, we can't rely on that. So we just got to be professional and keep taking everything a day at a time, and continue to build that chemistry and trusting each other every day. We understand where we're at right now, and we recognize the sense of urgency that we need to have and pick up. And I have confidence in our group that we will.
Each and every one of us have more of a competitive side to us, and we have to do that each and every night. And then you can, wrinkle out the X's and O's and the schemes and the communication. But first and foremost, you just got to compete harder. And everybody knows in here that we all have it in us, but we can't pace ourselves. We know that a week from tonight is opening night, and if we're not ready, we're going to get smacked. So I think we have a good week of practice up and coming, and I think, we'll really get after it. We have.
All right, Andy. You heard Dante DiVincenzo. You heard Julius Randle. They both kind of talked about getting after it. They talked a little bit about working hard, effort, things like that. Now it's time to turn it up when the regular season comes. How do you feel? Just about their comments, then we'll get into breaking down the preseason.
Well, they didn't say anything wrong. They did the, politically correct stuff. If you do something bad, you're not going to blame that much on yourself, but you're just going to hint it that we can do better because we have this and this and, still in our pocket. Nothing surprising here. I got more stuff on the, whole preseason thing.
Yeah, nothing surprising there. Do you feel like they're relying too much on continuity and chemistry? Because you heard Julius Randle mention it. We have, he did say we don't want to rely on that, but do you feel like they're relying on it too much?
Well, this is one of my points going into the season. looking at behind after the whole preseason. Well, before the preseason started, I was thinking that, Tibbs is going to run these guys still 30 minutes before each and every game. The second game, they basically got benched. All of what, 6, 7 guys even, right? So I was surprised back then. So I think they feel that the continuity is going to help them, but I'm also really high on it. So I kind of still have trust in those guys and in the continuity. That's why I kind of agree with Julius. Listen, the last couple of seasons that we had way more preseason games. This year we got only 4 games. That the whole NBA trimmed it down, those numbers, right? So I think that if it's going to be any team that has an advantage because of the continuity, it's probably going to be the Knicks, at least in the top 5 teams in the league, because we basically moved one guy out of the rotation and added one in. Right. So I think that's huge, and I think even teams that went further than the Knicks in the playoffs made more changes or like bigger changes as far as important rotation pieces.
Yeah. Okay. So give me your thoughts on the Knicks preseason. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm not putting much weight in the record as far as the 1-3 it goes. Last year, the Bucks went to the it's not the Bucks, but the championship year that the Bucks went to the finals, into the finals and won the chip. They went 0-4 in the preseason. So I don't keep that much on them, but and listen, it's not it's me saying as a Fournier fan. If I knew that Fournier is going to get that much minutes in the preseason games, I could tell you, from the jump that these preseason games ain't that much of high stakes for Tibbs, unless he got a word from the front office that he has to play Fournier. Because if it was up to Tibbs personally, I think he wouldn't play him. I think maybe like you said, one stream or 2 streams back that maybe they patched it up and stuff like that. Listen, I was surprised that he got that much burn in the preseason. So I don't. That's why I don't hold the count to the record. We saw them even in the last preseason game versus the Wizards. They went down. They came back almost all the way, and then again they got the guys that got the game close. They got benched. So I think the record wasn't the most important thing for Tibbs in this preseason.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't think the record means anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but last season, I think Tibbs was like, I want to go like literally unbeaten into the preseason, season after the preseason. But this year he kind of changed it up. I didn't see that much of urgency. And he listened, even the first game he played, guys out of the rotation, right? So
yeah, he did more experimentation, in my opinion, way more experimentation. Let's start with Fournier, though. All right, Fournier, you brought up Fournier. Fournier got playing time. The last game versus the Wizards was the wrap-up. I mean, not the wrap-up, the dress rehearsal.
The dress rehearsal, yeah.
Right? The dress rehearsal. And Fournier was out there on the floor in the dress rehearsal. Even before, they just threw whoever out there at the end of the fourth quarter, Fournier was in a rotation. Do you think Fournier is going to be in a rotation to start the season Wednesday?
I still think no, because we didn't have Quickly dressed on this dress rehearsal. So I think if Quickly is going to be suited up, I think Fournier is not going to have minute. But to be true with you, I still think that Fournier showed even Knicks fans that he can still play ball and make shots. Mm-hmm. He didn't play up perfect, without mistakes preseason, but I think he still played above what we expected him. Most of the Knicks fans were thinking that Fournier is total trash and he ain't going to make a bucket in these 4 preseason games. he showed glimpses that he can still provide an NBA team with scoring, even if it's off the bench. So,
Yeah. You know, I'm actually feeling like Tom Thibodeau might use him, at least to begin the season. I think he might use him because even in the previous games, like even in the first game, when they had everybody there, you know, the first half, he kind of did what looked to me like the
Similar, right?
rotation that he was going to use, right? Because we've seen that similar rotation in the dress rehearsal, except there was Deuce instead of Emmanuel quickly. I think it's Deuce who gets X'd out of it, and Evan Fournier stays in the rotation, at least for the beginning of the season. You know, even last year, Tom Thibodeau started playing 10, 11 guys, and then he cut it down. I think you might see Fournier out there from the beginning of the season, you know, playing 12, 13 minutes. And, you know, if he feels like he's not getting what he needs from him, or he feels like he's just more comfortable with a 9-man rotation, then maybe you see him get X'd out. But, you know, the Knicks, maybe he feels like he can use the shooting in that second unit. And maybe he feels like he has enough defenders in the second unit to make up for Fournier if he's concerned about his defense.
Well, if you think about it, then that looks kind of true. Even if he goes with, even if he goes with Quickly, DiVincenzo, Fournier, Hart, and then, you know, it's going to be Hartenstein. You got like three good defenders, so you can, you know, kind of hide Fournier somewhere in that lineup, right?
Right. You know, so, you know, I think it's worth watching. I think that's one thing that I'm taking away from the preseason.
Yeah, right? like I said, that was one of the biggest surprises for me that he got that much playing time.
Right.
So
right. He definitely got more playing time than I expected. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that say, well, they did it so that, you know, other teams can see him. But, you know, maybe he's proven something to Tom Thibodeau in practice. It looks like he's, to me, making a stronger effort on the defensive end. Not that I'm not saying he didn't try before, but like really saying I really got to make an effort because I know this is what he wants. You know what I mean? And, you know, I got guys, you know, we got guys out here, Dante DiVincenzo, Emmanuel Quickly, boom, 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 that, you know, he'll quickly sit me down, and he knows it, right? And I think Tom Thibodeau, at the very least, wants to give him the respect, I guess. You know, give him the respect. See, it's a new season. They talk about it all the time. Every year is different. It's a new season. Let's see if he can work in that second unit. Right? What do you think about the second unit from what you've seen in the preseason?
Well, this is hard to judge for me as well, because we saw our second unit play in the second game versus starters at most, and then they again got subbed for you know the last guys from the bench. So it's hard for me, but I think I like it more with this lineup than when we had Obi in it. And if you would ask me why, I think I feel way more comfortable with having a guy like DiVincenzo in, because I think he brings that some kind of a calm atmosphere, because, you know, he didn't play like out of the, you know, that he didn't play that well that he's literally going to fight with Grimes for the starting minutes, right? But you could see that he plays like a vet out there, and he's not that old. I think he's way ahead of that curve, that he plays calm and patiently instead of, you know, just running like a guy, you know, around the faster the better and stuff like that. So I think he's more comfortable. Just Tibbs as a coach is going to be more comfortable having him in that lineup with a Josh Hart, with a Hartenstein, and even with a Fournier as a vet, than having like 3 rookies out there and then just leaving the ball out the court and letting them play. So I think he's going to be way more comfortable only because of that.
Yeah. I think the second unit, if Evan Fournier remains in the second unit for now, and Dante DiVincenzo obviously is going to be in the rotation, you got 2 new guys in that second unit that have to get adjusted. And I think we've seen that during the preseason, right? I didn't feel like the second unit was really sharp. Obviously, they they had to play against another team's starters at one point, but they're not sharp, right? I think part of it is due to them not having the chemistry together, because you got 2 new guys out there playing it. Although Evan Fournier has been on the team, this will be his 3rd year on the team, he's never really played with the bench, right? He was either a starter or out the rotation, besides maybe a couple of games here and there that he ran with the bench. So I think they've got to find the continuity if Evan Fournier is going to be in that rotation. They've got to figure that out. Could take a little bit of time, right? I think they've got to figure out how to get Dante DiVincenzo to help handle the ball a little bit so they're not solely relying on Immanuel Quickley. I felt like Immanuel Quickley handled the ball in that unit way too much. And I know part of it is because, they're still figuring out what to do, right, in that unit. Like Dante DiVincenzo is still figuring out the rotations and, well, not the rotations, but, all of the schemes and things like that. So it's like, okay, well, we'll rely on Immanuel Quickley until Dante gets a hold of it. Hopefully they're going to use Dante with, use his skill set. You know what I mean? Hopefully Tom Thibodeau's going to use it because he has a lot of versatility to his game. It's going to be a shame if Tom Thibodeau doesn't use it. But I think that unit really does have to figure out how they play with each other, right? I also think the Knicks, there are a lot of little units I think the Knicks got to figure out, right? If you looked at the rotations or the substitution patterns, Tom Thibodeau really did stagger the lineups in preseason. Julius Randle would come out with, he'd play like 6 or 7 minutes, maybe 8 minutes in the first quarter. Then he'd come out, Josh Hart and Immanuel Quickley or Deuce McBride, depending on if Quickley was playing, would come in. And then eventually Dante would come in for Quentin Grimes, right? And then, and so then you'd play with, for a little while with RJ out there, and then Hartenstein would come in for Mitchell Robinson. Eventually, Fournier would come in for RJ, and then you'd have that full bench unit on the floor for a couple of minutes. And then about 9 minutes left in the second quarter, Randall and Brunson might come back in, right? And then you start seeing Mitchell Robinson fade back in. So there's like little units that got to figure out how to play with each other for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. You know what I mean? And that's different than last year, I think. Because last year it was kind of like Randall played the entire first quarter. Maybe Brunson played the entire first quarter, right? RJ would go out at maybe 6 minutes in the first quarter. And then at the top of the third, you almost got the whole bench in, besides maybe RJ on the floor, right? So they really got used to that rotation. Now they got to get used to another rotation or substitution pattern. What did you think about the substitution patterns in the preseason?
Well, I think it was definitely tested because we got to remember that last season, and I don't know if Knicks fans know this stat, but last season, Knicks starters scored the most points as a lineup out of any starting unit in the NBA. So, that starting unit played well together. But like you said, that might have been something that, was caused because of the substitution pattern. Julius and Jalen basically played the first quarters, like you said. RG went out at half of the way, but he started the second quarter with the second unit and stuff like that. So that was a really, long rotation. I think if it started like around the 15-20 game, it was kept like that in case of anything happening till the last game of the season. So like we've seen in the preseason, these rotations were quite different. Question is if we're gonna stick with these rotations, or Tibbs was literally looking at the plus and minuses of the lineups, and he's just gonna look at something in a longer stint of time to pick a certain lineup on the court.
Right. I think those substitution patterns, those lineups, I think you're going to see him juggle it a little bit for the first month of the season. He's still trying to figure out what's going to look best together.
Yeah, and this is all aside of, for example, situations that are going to be brought, for example, by foul trouble or stuff like that, right? We're just talking about a perfect game. Nobody's, having 3 fouls in the first quarter and foul trouble and or injuries or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll see. What did you think about? Let's talk about anything else, rotation wise, lineup wise. Well, I do have one more thing I want to ask you. What did you think about Sims and Mitchell Robinson together? How'd you feel about that?
Well, that was also a tricky one. I was like, we're gonna run this, like really,
right?
But Sim, to be true, I think it's for Tibbs to pick any kind of real patterns out of that those two guys playing together. I think he needs more of time of those guys playing aside of each other to get any points out of it. But him just throwing out these kind of lineups was like it was like someone else was coaching the Knicks for me, and he was just looking at the sidelines, just looking at his team. Because as far as the play calling goes, we know how that goes because we didn't see that much new things, but the substitution patterns definitely and the lineups was different. I think that pairing was surprising. I think pairing also, for example, Deuce with a guy like DiVincenzo as ball handlers. Most Knicks fans were probably thinking that Deuce is going to be the 3rd string or even the 4th string point guard on the Knicks. Meanwhile, he kind of had one of the best preseasons out of all the Knicks. I would say.
He did. He had a nice one.
Shooting wise, defense wise, I think he played, basically probably most surprisingly well out of all the Knicks. We didn't, at least I didn't expect him, shooting at that kind of percentage clip. So I was happy about that. One thing that still worries me with Deuce, and he's one of my favorites on this team, is that the rest of the NBA doesn't respect his shot, maybe because of the scouting reports, and he couldn't get past anyone. There was a certain play I remember he was on the court with Fournier, and he wanted to go at his guy. He got defended. He had to step back. He wanted to go at his guy again. He again couldn't get past him. He passed up the ball to Fournier, and Fournier, as a vet, went by his guy and then passed the ball back to Deuce, and Deuce made a 3, right? But that means that Deuce can't take his player off the dribble, but a guy like Fournier did it, right? That shows you that he's still lacking stuff, but not every point guard has to have that blow by move. But as far as point guards go, I think that makes the game way easier if you can break down the defense and then pass up the ball.
Yeah. Deuce, I love his defense. I feel like his defense has gotten better. His offense, is still a work in progress. I don't know if you're ever going to see, the kind of offense that you're hoping from Deuce ball handling, could be a little bit shaky. I don't think he's going to play in the G League this year. I think he's going to be on the roster, right, and just stay with the team and rock with the team. Spot minutes, basically, for Deuce. That's what I see, spot minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Just going to be spot minutes for Deuce. As far as that Sims and Mitchell Robinson lineup, I think, it was more of an experimentation by Tibbs to begin the preseason. Maybe you see it every once in a while, but I don't think you're going to see it all the time. Right? If we're playing somebody that's big, maybe if we're in a pinch, Julius Randle's out or something like that, then maybe you see it. But I don't think it's going to be a mainstay in the lineup, in my opinion. I think you're going to see R.J. Barrett play the backup 4 with that bench unit. And then, it's going to maybe you see Evan Fournier play. And I don't even want to say R.J. Barrett at the backup 4, just R.J. playing with the bench unit, because Josh Hart is probably going to play defense on the opposing 4. Right? So R.J. Barrett with that unit, Evan Fournier with that unit too, to start the season at least. That's what I'm thinking.
And Sim, like you said, it's going to be literally a few possessions in a game. It's going to be like 3 possessions on the offensive end, 3 possessions on the defensive end, and probably we're going to go back to one of those lineups that Tibbs trusts, and I think that's going to be that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. R.J. Barrett, how'd you think R.J. Barrett's preseason was?
Well, I was thinking about this in a way that if this FIBA tournament is going to help him start the season a little bit, faster, because we know how RJ starts seasons, right?
Right.
Around game 20, we see the RJ that we were, expecting, but the first 20 games, he's up and down. He has good games, then he has 2 bad games, and he has 3 good games, 1 bad game, 2 good games, and you never know what to expect from RJ at the beginning of the season. I'm expecting at least this season that he's going to be in a groove from game 1, and I don't think he can blame it or on anything else. I don't think that RJ in any kind of post-game interview should say that, he's, like trying to get the rust off of him and stuff like that because he didn't play games. So I'm kind of happy about that. Well, he made a couple of more shots. We saw him go to the hoop, but that's all that, I knew that RJ can do.
Right.
Like any new go-to move, any new flashy thing that we saw from RJ, as far as I think, you can say that he tweaked his shot a little bit, but those are like, really minor things that I don't think he can even mention that he did it in the off season. It's like nobody's going to care about that kind of small stuff, right? Yeah. If he came back with post game or turnaround move, fadeaway shot or something like that, likely perfected, that it's going to be his go-to move. I think you can say that, I practice on this. Right. I don't think you can say like, oh, I was tweaking my shooting angle for 3% or something like that. That's not going to cut it with Knicks fans, right? So
I feel like RJ maybe got a little faster, and maybe he lost some weight.
Yeah,
because it felt to me like last season he was a little bit heavy, a little bit heavier than in previous seasons, and maybe it's because he didn't really play during the off season because of the contract situation. Right? He worked out but didn't play, didn't get up and down the floor, scrimmaging and stuff like that, playing pickup. So him playing in FIBA, I think is helping him to be in much better shape. I think he looks a little thinner, which is good for him. I thought he looked faster, especially when we seen him in transition on the fast break, I thought he looked faster, but he still seems kind of strong. He was been able to on a couple of occasions finish through contact, or get fouled and go to the line. Right, in 2 of those games, he only played in 3 games. In 2 games, he was 9 for 9 from the free throw line, then 9 for 12 from the free throw line. Against the Wizards, he didn't go to the line at all. All right, but I'm looking to see, can he continue to get to the line? I felt like the quickness allowed him to, put a little bit more pressure on the defense and pick up those fouls. You know what I mean? So hopefully, throughout the season, as they're playing even more basketball games, he stays in more shape. The quickness remains, and he even gets a little bit faster, hopefully. But I feel like he got a little bit faster. Right? I feel like he's playing. Last year, I felt like he played. Maybe there was a little bit of tension, or tension on his part, or maybe he was a little uncomfortable because he wasn't sure. With Jalen Brunson coming in, am I the second option, third option? Like, what am I? Right? Because there were questions with the fans, and I'm pretty sure there was questions within the locker room until they figured it out. I think he's coming in this season knowing I'm the third option. It's no doubt about it. I can't score like either one of those guys. I'm the third option. And I think that makes it easier for him to just settle into his role and then excel within his role. Without having that pressure of, let me try to prove that I can be a second option or this or that. I'm the third option, but I'm going to get my 20 a game as being the third option. And I think if he's kind of accepted that he's the third option right now, who knows if he's ever going to be more than that. I don't think so, not with these 2 guys on the team, with Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. So if he's accepted, hey, I'm a third option, I'm gonna get some catch and shoot opportunities. I'll get some kickouts. I'll get my handoff, to be able to go to the basket, and I'll be able to score in transition. When I'm out there with the second unit, I move up to, if I'm out there with Quickly, I guess I'm the number 2 option when I'm with that second unit, because Quickly still, I think, is the number 1 option in that second unit, even with RJ out there, right? But I think knowing that, coming to grips with it and terms with it, makes life a little bit easier, because now you can just settle into, all right, this is what I have to do as the third option. So I felt like he looked a little bit more comfortable in preseason, and I think that's going to help him coming into the season, right? RJ Barrett. Tom Thibodeau was asked about RJ Barrett, and if he sees any difference coming into the season, with him playing FIBA and all that kind of stuff. This is what Tom Thibodeau had to say about RJ.
Have you noticed any difference in Barrett in this camp coming off the summer that he had with
Just steady, and that's who he is. And so, like with any young player, I think the challenge is consistency. So, and the more you have your routine in place, I think that helps. And the thing I love about RJ is RJ never gets too high, never gets too low. He's the same guy every day, and that's good. But just focus on getting better and helping the team. Everyone has to prioritize helping the team get better.
All right, there you go. That's Tom Thibodeau on RJ Barrett. Of course, he's going to go into his diatribe about everybody sacrificing and helping the team and all of that. We get it. Consistency, he talked about with RJ. Consistency, doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. Do you agree with that about RJ Barrett?
I think maybe mentally, that's true that he doesn't get too high, too low. Mm-hmm. But, as far as, shooting percentages and his efficiency, he definitely goes too high, too low. Maybe not too high, because he never can get too high, but too low. Some days he tries to get his points, and it clearly isn't his day. And like you mentioned, maybe, the feeling that he's literally the third option is going to help him, because, he's going to get kept in check by those guys, that right. by Jalen, by Julius, right? Then on the other hand, if he's gonna have a hot night, I don't think either of Jalen or Julius are gonna have a problem with that.
Oh,
So
right.
they're gonna keep
Right.
feeding him, and as far as having the best outcome for the team, I think those two guys are really good with it. So
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about it. He's gonna have his moments, and he's gonna have his nights where he's hot, right? Also, with so much attention going to Julius and Jalen, sometimes it should be really easy for RJ. Should be really easy for RJ. So we'll see how RJ does this season. I agree though. I want RJ to come in hot, or at least not bad. I mean, he doesn't have to come in blazing, but come in, ready to go, playing a consistent basketball game. But I feel like he looks more comfortable on the court. And that's going to go a long ways to him having a good start to the season. What's your thoughts on Quentin Grimes preseason?
well, I also saw 2 games really good from Grimes. Last game versus the Wizards, he got in foul trouble really fast versus Jordan Poole, right? So that was something that was troubling for me because Poole went for 40 and 3/4, and Grimes wasn't available to defend him. So that might be the problem with him, but he's ambitious. I think he worked on his game in the offseason. We know that he did it with JJ Redick and with Penny Hardaway. The shooting, I think, it's not like it looks better because it looked quite well before. The efficiency was nice. I think we're gonna get surprised by Quentin because he's gonna have more of the opportunities to go off the dribble and break down the defense. We saw that rarely last season, and it was basically when he was on the corner, he got a pass, and if he couldn't have a clear, shot out of that possession, he tried to go at the hoop. And I think we're going to see a little bit more, and not only from the baseline from Quentin, going off the dribble. And I think that's the thing that he basically could do last season. Just he didn't have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I hope so. I really want to see him be able to go off the dribble. I mean, we know he can attack the closeouts. We know that. He can attack the closeouts, and he does a really good job attacking the closeouts. I want to see his game grow and develop a little bit more, to the point where he's able to, every once in a while get the ball and people get out the way and let him go. I don't know if his game is ever going to get there, but I think that helps the Knicks a lot if he's able to do that. I think he can be a versatile player too. I think, he can slash to the basket some. I think he can go back door, cut back door. We got to utilize those things. Besides the one game against the Celtics where the starting 5 didn't play, well, RJ, Julius, and Jalen didn't play. And he got some shots off, but they were still all kickouts. All off of kickouts. Somebody else creating it and kicking it out to him. But he got up 13 shots. Other than that, he didn't get up many. He didn't get up shots when those guys were out there on the floor. And part of it is on Jalen and RJ and Julius to find him, look for him, try to make sure he's getting shots up. Part of it is on him, to take a little bit of the initiative to get those shots too, I think. Because the Knicks need him to be efficient. I agree with Tony. I'd like for him to get up 6 to 8 threes a game. 4 shots ain't enough for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so, we could blame a little bit of this on the coach, right? Yeah. If he would run a play, he would have a double screen play, that Reggie Miller kind of play that he runs after the baseline and then comes pop up out. Even if he doesn't make that shot, he can take a guy off his dribble, and then the defense is broken down, right? So I think that could cause even way better things for the whole team, not only for Quentin, but for the whole team. And what we gotta realize is that in the starting lineup, he's the fourth option, right?
Right.
He's number 4, and the only guy behind him is Mitchell Robinson, and Mitch can rebound and have attack the hoop after that.
Right.
I don't think that Quentin is going to have that many opportunities, but maybe if they stagger minutes with the bench guys and mesh him out a little bit back with those guys, we might see him getting a couple of shots more.
Right.
But like you said, I think I agree with Tony that he deserves at least a couple of shots more. So
yeah, a couple of shots. You know what I'm saying? Make sure he gets a couple of shots in. I think, for the Knicks to be successful, they need for him to get shots up. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's all I can say. They need for him to get shots up and make shots. That's what's, in my opinion, is going to help the, people still worry about spacing with that first unit. And with Quentin Grimes, his ability to take shots, make shots, is going to help to spread that floor. It's going to help to spread the floor. What's your thoughts on Mitchell Robinson?
Well, he looks like he looks a little bit stronger and maybe even faster, if you ask me. But listen, he's just a center. He's just the fifth guy on the floor with the Knicks, right? On the defensive end, of course, he's the anchor and one of the most important players. But on the offensive end, unless he gets the ball or they run a pick and roll play, and mostly it's with RJ, surprisingly, not with Jalen. It's surprisingly with RJ. Maybe he can get an alley-oop play out of it. The rest of the thing, he has to literally have a putback or get that offensive rebound and go straight up back, right? So that's his game.
Right. I thought he looked good. Right. I think he looked stronger. His shoulders look, I don't want to say wider,
right?
But I guess they are a little wider. He's been, lifting or whatever it is, but he looks bigger, looks stronger. He looks like he can help us deal with some of those bigger and stronger centers a little bit better now. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like he's lost speed. We still didn't see anything, from him offensively, and I'm not expecting to see anything from him offensively. You know what I mean? But with what he does, I think he's going to be better at what he does. Offensive rebounding, blocking shots. I think he's going to do a better job being able to pound with those big guys down low. And all of those things are benefits for the Knicks. All of them. Now, there's a rumor out there that when the Knicks were trying to negotiate for Jrue Holiday, and apparently they were trying to negotiate for Jrue Holiday, according to Ian Begley, Mitchell Robinson's name came up. I don't know if it was by the Knicks or the Portland Trail Blazers, but Mitchell Robinson's name came up in those trade rumors or trade talks. Obviously the Knicks didn't get Jrue Holiday, and Mitchell Robinson is still a New York Knick, which I'm cool with. I'm glad that he's still a Knick. But if trade talks do become available, or not become available, of course they're always available. If trade talks happen with certain players, Mitchell Robinson's name is probably going to be mentioned. Probably going to be mentioned. Julius Randle. I thought in the last preseason game he played good, right? What I think I see I feel like Julius Randle is more confident in himself as, he's made 2 All-Star games. He's been All-NBA twice. I feel like from what I've seen, he looks more confident in himself as a player. I don't feel like he's out there, and maybe it's just preseason, and we'll see what it looks like on Wednesday, but I didn't feel like it was like, I got to prove that I still got to prove this. I still got to prove that. I feel like he's more confident just in who he is as a player. Like, maybe he doesn't feel like he has to prove anything, and he can let the game come to him a little bit more, play, I don't know. What do you think?
So maybe he's matured
Maybe.
in this offseason, or then maybe it's the sneakers. You don't know.
I mean, listen, Julius Randle is definitely doing a reboot, a rebranding of himself, right? He's got the haircut, new sneaker deal, got a new logo. You know what I mean? Studying Bruce Lee and all of that stuff. So, maybe we're getting maybe he's looking and saying, okay, I got a new agent, right? I'm rebooting.
And sometimes a reset is good,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think for him, just looking at the fan base, I think every time he kind of starts with a blank canvas, I think it's still good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, I do. I think he looks more mature while he's playing. He's going to make mistakes and he's going to do some things, but I do feel like he looks more mature while he's playing, more confident. Looks to me, but it could be preseason. But it looked to me in the preseason like, all right, I don't have to prove anything.
The game slowed down for him also. So.
Right. Yeah. So maybe, hopefully that's going to translate to the regular season. We'll see. But hopefully it does. What about Jalen Brunson?
Well, Jalen Brunson is a player that, doesn't matter if it's preseason, off-season, NBA Finals, he's probably going to go 100% or 110% at the opposite team. So we saw what we could see, which is pure Jalen Brunson basketball. I didn't see anything new. I didn't see anything less from him. I'm kind of happy that Tibbs didn't run him 35 minutes a game because, he takes these games a little bit too serious. But that's just a kind of a player that he is, right? When he's on the court, it's all business, and he's gonna give everything off of him just to get the team a W. Yeah. And I'm happy with a player like that with that mentality. And we saw him getting a tech, and that was surprising because last season, the whole season, he had 2 technical fouls. So we saw that he's ready for the season to start. And the other thing is, like I said, nothing new from Jalen. We saw, every trick in the book, and I think he plays like a really long season vet. He plays like he's like 12, 13 years in the league.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think that he is. There are people who are concerned that maybe he's not going to be the same guy he was last year, and those things, I'm not concerned about it. He'll have some tough games in the beginning of the season, I think, because there's going to be more focus on Jalen Brunson. That's without a doubt. So there'll be some more difficult games. But by the end of the season, I think he'll be the Jalen Brunson that we saw last year. I think he'll be, he'll score. He'll maybe he's working on his passing because I thought he maybe did some overpassing in the preseason. But I'm not worried about Jalen Brunson at all. I think he's ready.
Yeah, if I can add something on Sim on that, it's like you said, it's not going to be because of Jalen himself. It's going to be because the defense of the opposite team is going to be focusing on him a little bit more, and the game plans might be a little bit, different versus him. But Sim, if you can count on a player to counter that on the fly, on the Knicks,
right,
the first name that should pop into your mind is Jalen Brunson.
Exactly.
That he can figure it out himself. He doesn't even have to have a timeout on it.
Exactly. Dante DiVincenzo.
He had his ups and downs. He definitely didn't have a come-out game like Josh Hart had when he came to the Knicks with those 2-3 games scoring above 20 points. But we saw him, making shots. We definitely see that he needs a couple of games more to get adjusted in the lineups and to play with these guys because these are new teammates, right? So that's normal. But you also saw that sometimes he knew where the guy is supposed to be and he started with the pass. He was like, I'm not going to do any risky things because I think I know the play. I'm going to keep it, a little bit more. But after like 10, 15 games, I think he's going to be way more fluent with these guys.
I think so too.
And he played confidently. He shot the ball quite well. I'm not sure about the percentages, but I still felt confident in him taking the shots. I wasn't like, oh, what is he doing or stuff like that. He took good shots, and I wasn't surprised or anything way over positive, but also anything that I found that much negative that I was upset with the Knicks signing him. So
the only thing that I find with him is he can be a chance taker sometimes, though.
Yeah,
I think he can be a chance taker, or might attempt a move that you be like, why didn't you just do this or do that? I think he might be
risky,
one of,
right?
I think he might be one of those guys every once in a while that does those things. But for the most part, we're gonna get a lot of positive stuff from Dante DiVincenzo, I think.
Sim, I think that's only because Dante probably watched the Knicks before he came here, and he knows how quickly plays with those wild passes and things he does that and Tibbs likes quickly apparently. So he's like, let me try to do that and get into the good graces of Tom. So
Right. I think I still think as the season wears on, you're going to see him get a chance to handle the ball a little bit more, let quickly play off the ball, because I think he can do some things in the pick and roll.
And Sim, and I would love that. I would love to quickly play off the ball because that takes away a little bit of his decision making, which I would be way happier with. But I also think that Tom is going to be way more comfortable with a more steady player like DiVincenzo than with Quickly.
All right, and Quickly, what and with Quickly, your thoughts on Quickly's preseason?
Well, he sat out the last game, which I was actually expecting to see him. I was expecting to see him because I was looking at the confrontation between him and Jordan Poole, because Quickly is one of those guys that if he sees a guy getting hot, he wants to like counter that, right?
He wants to try to cool him off.
He's like, oh, you're doing this, let me show you this, and he's one of those guys because I don't think Jalen is going to be, you can tease him like that he's going to try to show you off and stuff like that. He's going to still do the best play for the team. If it's him scoring or if it's him passing. Quickly, if, someone scores like 2-3 buckets in a row, he's going to try to outduel you or outmatch you in that kind of an aspect. Yeah. And I was looking at this, last preseason game. Unfortunately, he was, in street clothes. But Sim, listen, I'm not expecting, way more bigger things from Quickly. I think we all know it. If he's hot, he's going to have a great game. If he's not, it's going to be, you never know, right? So,
I think with Quickly, man, I think he, I thought the first preseason game, he pounded the ball a lot. He did have good shooting percentages that game, though. But I thought he pounded the ball, especially in the first half. I thought he pounded it a lot, had it in his hands all the time. In the second half, there was a little bit more equal distribution. The next game, I thought he did a little bit better. We'll see how the season unfolds, right? Right now in that second unit, I think you're relying on Dante DiVincenzo to be another scorer out there in that second unit. Josh Hart, he's going to attack off, in transition. I'm not comfortable with him being a decision maker for me, though. You know what I mean? So I'm really relying on Dante DiVincenzo to help be another decision maker out there, with that second unit. So, but I guess last thing is, coming off the preseason, does it change your expectations for the regular season?
I think no, I'm confident with the Knicks being one of the top 6 teams in the East, and I think they can do it.
Yeah.
After 20 games, maybe I can adjust my expectations, but I think at this point I'm confident that they really can make the top 6 in the East, and if they do it, I'm going to be calm and say that I was expecting this from game one. So.
Yeah, I agree. It hasn't changed my outlook for the season at all. I think the Knicks are going to be a good basketball team. I think they should be top 6. So, I'm hoping for them to be top 3. Top 3. Obviously, it's going to be tough for them to be above Milwaukee and Boston, but number 3, yeah, I think they have a shot at being the 3rd best team in the Eastern Conference. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you, we got tomorrow at Legends. Come out, join us. All right, we're just doing a little kickoff get-together. You know what I mean? Have a good time, talk about the Knicks, do some podcasting, and then get up out of there. So come join us, ladies and gentlemen. The link is in the description of the video. All right? And it's also tagged to the top of your YouTube chat. It's a free event, right? We just want to be able to collect, how many people are actually coming, so that we can, give a good number to Legends. But ladies and gentlemen, I got to get to a volleyball game so I can go support my middle school girls. They're in the championship game, so I got to get over there. The game actually starts at 5. Luckily, the place is only 5 minutes away. All right, so I'm out of here. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get back on later on tonight just to talk some more Knicks preseason stuff. But, folks, I got to run. I appreciate your time. Andy, any last words?
Have fun, Sim, today, tomorrow, and, I'm going to be watching.
No doubt. Yeah. Peace.
Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.